Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
As always, guys, make sure to subscribe to all three channels. Get the little bell clicked, and you could hop between each one of the channels right over here. It's nice and easy. Do you need to restore a little peace and balance into your life? Head over to Heart's Home, and we do our best to get at least maybe 3 or 4 videos up on Heart's Home and Evolutionary each week. And then EEARTS is kind of like our main channel at this point in time. And, you know, we do our best, guys. We really have so much to share with you. Honestly, it's just getting tougher and tougher with the technology. And, you know, like right now, I'm uploading to Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble. The first video we did today, it's been like 2 hours plus, 3 hours.
And, you know, that's really across the board, because I hear from people all over the place, and they're really having a lot of glitches, slow phones, either no internet service, big storm took out my power. I mean, there's a lot going on lately, which really I don't like. Right around the 4th of July, it makes me a little nervous. And if you look at the state of the world, I mean, things are not what you would call stable.
No, they're not stable, and it's because the world is going to change systems. Yeah. It's inevitable, and the power structure that's in place right now knows this. So when we think of like George Orwell's 1984, oh, there's so many nuggets in there. Every day they are rewriting history every single day, constantly changing what's in the books, well, what's in the internet. Everything is always up for, well, you know, editing.
Yeah. It's an editing kind of world.
So we got to pick our way through it all and see our way through it all. But that's all going to be easier and easier as time goes on, as long as we stay organic.
So important. Number one, stay organic.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't become a slave to the system. And that includes being addicted to the system. And, you know, again, if this wasn't our primary purpose for incarnating at this time, we would, you know, be doing a lot less use of the technologies. That's for sure.
That's for sure.
So when we think about who runs the world, who really runs the world, who really controls the world, you know, obviously we see the politicians all the time, but we know it's not the politicians. Then there's these groups. Yes, we have the Freemasons, we have the Bohemian Grove, we have the Davos crowd, we have the Trilateral Commission, we have the Council of 300, we have the Illuminati and all their bloodlines. Yes. All the symbolism is everywhere. And
these are the ones that we are allowed to know about.
Yeah, this is fine. We're allowed to know of these guys. We're allowed to know of these guys. You know, the Rockefellers and the Red Shields. Oh, for sure. That's okay. You could see them. You could understand that they are absolutely doing things to manipulate this world. And when we talk about the families, again, of that all-seeing eye that we know of, again, you know, these are family names that are attributed to being the controlling interest of the Illuminati: Astor, Collins, DuPont, Kennedy, Bundy, Reynolds, Freeman, Russell, Onassis, Rockefeller, Lee, Van Duyn, and Rothschild. Yes, absolutely. We can understand they control the media. They control all of our entertainment and all the actors. See, this is part of the great reveal now. You have all the actors coming out of the woodwork pushing the agendas. Same as the politicians are pushing the agendas. It's almost like they say, okay, you're going to be a politician. No, you're going to go to Hollywood. No, you're going to Hollywood and you're going to be a politician. Well, you will stick in the banking system. You were going to stick in the banking system at first, and then you're going to become a politician. You can be a bodybuilder and, you know, get attention that way. Then you're going to make a movie, become a governor, and, you know, we'll see.
Well, they do. They have their roles to play, and they're probably set up pretty much from time of birth, so they can start doing these things because they have a lot of influence. And because they have a lot of influence, they definitely have a lot of control.
Yeah. And at the same time, there's such a tendency to lump all these different mythological people together, and they're not all the same. So we'll touch on that again. We've touched on that before. So again, as you go on up the line, you're going up the power structure, but it's all power structure we know. At best, middle management, at best. And yeah, I didn't even know if you could say middle management, honestly. They're really not that important. You have these different councils, the Council of 13. Now, this is from n5d.com. And Greg's down in Sarasota. He's done a lot of good work. And yeah, absolutely. There's all these different groups. This is a many-headed hydra. So our Peter from Poland, who has been a family member for several years, he talks to us often about Krzysztof Jackowski, who is a psychic who has quite a track record. Not perfect, because again, timelines are not set in stone, but certainly very good. Mm-hmm. And so he had this, I guess, idea. And his idea was to look into the mind of number 45. DT. Yeah. He looked into the mind of 45, from which he received a message that 36 countries of the world are controlled by a highly secret organization that uses the infinity symbol in its logo. It's headquartered it has multiple headquarters in some kind of exotic location. There's one in Kuwait. The message he got also indicated that in Trump's mind, the 36 countries that agreed to be controlled by this organization betrayed humanity. This organization is totally apolitical, but influences all politicians and parties. And apparently it's so powerful and secret that it's absolutely untouchable. And even if its full identity would be to be revealed, nobody would be able to take it down. And the more likely outcome would be that the individual countries would most likely go to war with each other rather than directly impact it in any way. Peter goes on to say he highly doubts it's a reference to the Illuminati or the Bilderbergers. Also, one of the main goals of this organization is to create a new human species with various subspecies, mostly the creation of a highly obedient slave class. Apparently, 45 was fully aware of this organization during his presidency, but was powerless to do anything about it for fear to his own safety, or that of his closest kin, if you know what I mean. This is quite bizarre, and I was wondering if you could look into this. Yeah, absolutely. So, this one right away, I said, yeah, we've talked about this. Again, what you're talking about here is, by the way, this is the Polish psychic that we're talking about. Now, his videos are in Polish. So, again, if you can get subtitles going or have somebody translate for you, I'll give you guys the link. What they're talking about ultimately, what he is seeing, what power structure could there be that you couldn't take it down? That no matter what happened, even if it's exposed, it's not even in the remotest fear of exposure. It just makes things a little tougher, a little more complicated. Well, it's the fact that the power structure is not human. That's your reason. They're not human.
No, they're not human. And this is we did a video about this power structure. I remember back in New Mexico, so it was quite some time ago. And these beings are they're insulated. They're insulated in such a way that you cannot touch them or bring them any kind of harm. They're extremely intelligent. They're extremely influential. When I look at them, I see this cloak of darkness, which I think that is what they use to control. So if anyone does try to do anything to them, it's just not going to happen. And they do what they do through dark age after dark age after dark age. They have themselves set up in this permanent situation where they can have this control structure. but they can never leave. It's like that good old California song. You can check in, but you can never leave. I mean, that's where they're at, but that's what they want. They want the power.
But also, this structure you were getting to does have some control over Mars as well.
It does. It does. It has a control over Mars. And we did talk about it in New Mexico about it's a council of 9. And I'm sure there was a lot of councils out there, but this is one that came up when we were trying to look at the power structure. And I think that's just brilliant about being able to look into the mind of Donald Trump. See, I've had no official training to do the psychic work. And what I pick up is mine. And in a way, I don't want the training because I don't want myself to be led around. I want to get what I get fresh, in a fresh way so that I can give it to you guys. Because I think that's important. I think it's important to have a fresh view.
Yeah, absolutely. But you do, they know who you are and they know your lineage. And so, some of your lineage has that training. And we'll just leave it at that. But I'm showing this. This was from the movie Green Lantern, and this was like a high-level being. And, this is not a perfect representation, but it felt like, close enough to show. Rudolf Steiner, too. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just looking at, I mean, as far as the photo, the head, the brain, I mean, it's all the gray matter which they use to control.
Absolutely. And again, they are a much more ancient race than Homo sapiens sapiens, because again, our bodies, our vehicles have been downgraded by these beings numerous times. Steiner, while we don't agree completely with his view of things, he did have a interesting take on Ahriman Angra Mainyu, which comes from the Persian tradition. And it's fascinating to look at the Persian tradition because, again, this is where you get so much of your biblical thought. It really comes from the dualism from Persia. Now, I've seen 2 of these beings exactly look like this. I've seen them, and they were in when we were camping out in the middle of the desert by Area 51. They were not 3D, they were 4D, but I could see them clearly with my pineal. And this is exactly what they look like. And they were in a meditative state. They stayed right outside our camper. And honestly, we had so many encounters with different beings in that area because it's like Grand Central Station. I mean, there are so many beings coming and going from Nellis Air Force Base and Area 51 and all the other top secret locations in that area. It's just the traffic there is insane.
It is, and that's from below, but then you can also include the traffic that's up above.
Absolutely. So the point is that there are these beings. Now, those beings that are over all the ones that we know, they're not Homo sapiens. They're not. They're untouchable because they're not Homo sapiens. And, while they can be on the planet, they could also not be on the planet. And, you have to also realize that the control system that still exists on Mars, and we look to the legends, the Gigi came from Mars to here. And then the Gigi said, we're not doing all the work. You're going to have to, get us some help. And so, that's what you had was basically hijacking beings that were on their own path and their own evolutionary path, hijacking the bodies and downgrading them and selectively breeding them down, dumbing them down, turning off so much of their DNA because you can't have them understanding that they're slaves. They have to create a reality in which we don't understand that we're slaves. And that we buy it. And that's what they've done. And this is what it is in the Kali Yuga. But we're going through that great awakening, so we're starting to realize that this is exactly what happened.
Mm-hmm. And that's what, giving us our belief system is for. That's to buy into the story so that they can keep us in line.
When you look to the Greek gods and the Greek mythology of these beings, and again, you can see how big they are, and you see depictions of Titans and the elder gods, you do find in Greek mythology In Greek mythology, when Prometheus gave fire to mankind, he infuriated Zeus. So, to punish Prometheus, Zeus had him chained to a rock, and every day an eagle came down and ate his liver. Because he was immortal, the liver grew back, and the eagle returned to do it to him again the next day. To punish mankind, Zeus and 8 other deities gathered to form a council of 9. And so the council members were Aphrodite, Apollo, Athena, Demeter, Hephaestus, Hera, Hermes, Poseidon, and Zeus. Together, this council created Pandora and sent her as a gift to Epimetheus. Epimetheus was also given Pandora's box and told never to open it. Curiosity got the better of Pandora. She opened the box, releasing all the fortunes of mankind. Again, we can see the echoes of these same things going through so many different mythologies. And in Greek mythology, the Greek gods viewed humans as playthings. They, had fun with them. They played negative jokes on them, terrorized them, tormented them, sometimes got fond of some, sometimes had sex with them. Zeus fathered so many demigods. Again, it's because these beings are the ones that we would call the fallen Pleiadians. They are beings that succumbed to the draconian AI control grid. They gave in, they surrendered and became part of that evil empire. And then they came here to conquer. Again, it's just like the Romans did too. The Romans would conquer a tribe. They don't have enough people to always monitor and rule the tribe. So, they would go ahead, put people in that would pay them tribute, and they could go and call up warriors from these tribes and put them into service. This is regular practice. Everything we have in this planet comes ultimately through the Anunnaki draconian AI grid. So this is exactly what we have on this planet. And that's the control grid that is in place. So when we look at these beings, when we looked at them on a one-to-one basis, some are basically hybrids themselves. Some are really, beings that are a combination of Anunnaki and human. But then again, some of our DNA comes from them, as well as many other tribes of beings from many other star systems. We are truly, mutts.
Oh my gosh, we are. And there's so many different parts of our DNA that come from these beings that are being transformed into the bodies that we have. Now, when we start to activate our energies and activate our abilities, depending on what your lineage is going to tell you what your abilities, where your strong points are.
So when you look to the Bible and the Genesis 6, it's giving you reference to this in a sense, but with kind of a distorted view, because again, angel meant messenger ultimately. So fallen angels, what we're talking about is extraterrestrials, and again, it's the big realization. We're also talking about density, because right now they're only beginning to be physical to us. We're getting to that point where they will look physical and they will actually be able to do all the things they did before on a one-on-one basis, and they can alter their frequency to become physical at this point. As a few years back, you saw the Pope and the head of the Eastern Orthodox Church. You saw John Kerry. You saw numerous people, presidents, going down to Antarctica to meet with one of them, to basically, again, get instruction. And so there's a lot of different extraterrestrials here in play. The Council of Nine, it is absolutely one of the controlling factions since, the beginning of the Dark Age.
Right. And a lot of these beings that we see, that we're allowed to see, that are in charge, they have an understanding of their lineage. They know where they're from. They know where their abilities lie. They know their strengths. They know their weaknesses. And that's where you come to the understanding that their education and our education is so vastly, vastly different. They make completely different schools that you and I probably haven't even heard of, don't know exist, because they teach their own a different way, and they teach their own how to control and how to manipulate in a way that keeps them in power. And they have this 3D oneness type of energy about them. They have an agreement to keep the power regardless of what it takes. And then they give us our education, which really scatters us in so many ways. And with this scattering and this difference of opinions and us fighting each other about this and that takes our power away. We have not come to that understanding that what we want, this thing that we want, for me, it's freedom. And I want to surround myself with other people who want the freedom of their bodies and the freedom to believe. And to me, that's my priority. So you need to surround yourself with people that have the same priorities as you, just like they have done for themselves.
When we see these depictions, these ancient depictions of the Greek gods, then we come into our age, and then we see, different frescoes and Michelangelo's, depicting God and Adam, that famous one. They're the same story, just being retold again from a different perspective. This was curious. According to Greek mythology, humans were originally created with 4 arms, 4 legs, and a head with 2 faces. Fearing their power, Zeus split them into 2 separate parts, condemning them to spend their lives in search of their other halves. As far as soulmates, yes, there are many people that we come and incarnate with all the time on a regular basis. There are people we just simply resonate with. Well, it's because we've had so many lives together. Like, Cindy and I have been together through so many lives. It's why we just understand each other. We've done this so many times. But what really they're talking about, again, when you see some of the Hindu deities, and they might have 4 arms or 6 arms or 8 arms or more or multiple faces, again, it's the recognition to the higher self. It's also talking about a whole being that exists when we're on, 5th density, when we are in a golden age. We are so much more than we are now. We have been so... Gosh, I was going to use a certain word, but I'll steer clear of it to not be offensive. But man, we've had so much of our abilities taken away through genetic manipulation. And that is exactly what they're doing right now. You better go get your what. Ow. That is all about, again, creating that perfect subservient slave race. This is how they view us. This is what... the Sumerian stories talk of. They view humans as a slave race. But the reality is, no, we're not a slave race. That's not the original intention at all. That's what they've done to us. They've basically kept us locked into this system. But again, that's basically for the totality of the Kali Yuga and maybe the first quarter or so, first eighth and the last eighth of the Bronze Age. And then, they're no longer in charge. They're no longer in control. And then we're going to be exposed to many other extraterrestrial species. There'll be many of them interacting with us openly. We're coming to that point. So the first ones they're really going to introduce to us are going to be some of the controllers themselves. And, of course, that's the reason why you don't get on the first ships, because... again, that old Twilight Zone, or was it Outer Limits to Serve Man? Yeah. There's a lot of people that go missing all the time, and there's a lot of people that find themselves in other places or, as part of the digestive process.
I know, it's yucky.
It is. And on that note, let's look at some fun, guys. Play with a friend. It's okay. Because we could do our thing if we want to. You can dance if you want to.
Isn't that so cute? I mean, my gosh, they're having so much fun, and it is so simple.
It's part of transmigration of the soul. Because again, they are right now Basically, Source Spark, enjoying life as a dog. And at some point in time, maybe they'll try it out as humans.
And who's not to say that they might have come back to assist their partner, their human partner, in some way.
Absolutely. A portion, too. This is part of that thing that's really hard to understand because we've gotten so much information that on this side of the veil with these very, very fallible brains and so much DNA turned off, it seems hard to understand, but the reality is we can send a portion of us in to reincarnate as a family pet.
And to bring someone, some help, to help guide someone, to help someone through some really hard times, because I don't know how many times pets have come into my life. Maybe I rescued them, but really they rescued me.
Absolutely. As always, guys, thank you for your support over on Patreon and Ko-Fi. Couldn't do it without you guys. If you do need to set up an appointment for spiritual coaching, for Vedic astrology, charts, energy work, and the like, contacting loved ones, spirit guides, etc., it's evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com. Allow about 2 to 3 weeks to have an appointment. As always, God bless and namaste.
Namaste.